Hello, guys. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. No theme music for this one because it wasn't supposed to be a full episode, but we had the host of the six-man show, Luke Sylvia, and Jonathan Osborne on to talk about the Orlando Magic, Jalen Suggs, Evan Fournier's fit with the Knicks, and the conversation lasted a while, and it was a great conversation. I think it lasted about 40 to 50 minutes, and because of that, we decided to make it an entire show. So I hope you guys enjoy episode 105, and I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. We have the host of the six-man show on the pod. Sorry, but I'm forgetting your guys' names, man. Say it again for the podcast. Oh,
man. We're in 30 seconds into this. This ain't going well. No, my name's Jonathan. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, and I'm Luke.
So
what's
Jonathan,
going on, Joel
Luke,
and Riv? We know who you
See,
guys
we all
are.
know y'all names.
No,
man,
it's all right.
I totally blanked out on it.
No worries, bro. I'm just playing.
But we're excited to have you guys on. You guys recently signed with Blue Wire, which is huge, and you're one of the few Orlando Magic podcasts. I mean, you're the only Orlando Magic podcast that I've seen on the internet anywhere, to be honest. And you guys are doing your thing. You guys have had Jonathan Issac on the show. You guys do like live draft parties. It's awesome. How'd you get started on the podcast?
So yeah, it started about 2.5 years ago. One night I was driving home with my wife, and like you said, there aren't many Magic podcasts. There are a few more now, but like 2.5 years ago, it was really just not even a handful. And the podcast episode ended, and we still had a long drive home. I'm like, man, I wish I had another Magic podcast to listen to. And she's like, well, why didn't you start one? And I just kind of shrugged it off at first, and just more and more I thought about it, I was like, you know what, why not? So started it initially with one of my childhood friends, and it wasn't a great fit. He wasn't really feeling it. Tried to do it by myself for a little bit, and I wasn't feeling that. And I was like, man, either I got to get a co-host or something else has got to switch up here. And I started looking for a co-host, and the boy Luke here would just kind of drop right in my lap. And no, we just hit it off really from day one, and we've had great chemistry. And we just love the team. We love talking about it. There's not enough coverage, of the Magic, at least, in our opinion. You watch ESPN and, Fox Sports, and they don't ever talk about the Magic. So we try to be that, for the community and for the Magic fans.
Were you guys friends before you started the podcast, or you guys met as soon as you started the podcast?
No. Luke, if you want to tell the story on how you reached out.
I got it. So, Jonathan put out a post, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for a co-host essentially. And at the time I had been telling my wife, like, hey, I really want an outlet. I want something else, like something I can do. I just feel like there's an itch that needs to be scratched. I don't know if it's streaming video games. I don't know if it's podcasting. I don't know what it is, but I was super intrigued with podcasts. I've loved podcasts for a long time now. And so I just DM'd Jonathan, let him know I was interested in, trying to be a co-host on the show. And then, I came on board, and then the pandemic happened and sports shut down. I don't think that I got to talk Magic basketball about an actual game until the bubble happened with him. So we did a podcast for 2 months every week for 2 months with nothing going on. So we dug deep into our bag to try to find ideas and stuff. But yeah, man, that's kind of how it got started. Just DMing him, and now, there's not a day that goes by that we're not texting about something, whether it's life or basketball. So the past, whatever it is, over a year now. It's been awesome so far. So
yeah, that's amazing. And I admire people who do podcasts on teams because, like you mentioned, there are times during the year where there's nothing to talk about. You have to come up with these ideas. Like for us, everything's always going on. NBA rumors, NFL, like we're talking about something. But for you guys have to dig into the past or come up with really creative ideas to come up with topics for your show.
Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. And first, I just wanted to also say, I know we really didn't get to talk before this, but I found y'all actually on TikTok. I saw one of y'all's clips on TikTok, and I was like, oh, they actually know what they're talking about, because I do admire that as well, right? Like when you're talking NBA, you have to know what you're talking about. And you guys would pull stuff out about the Magic that I'm like, wow, these guys actually know what they're talking about. They months back, they knew who Chuma Okeke was enough to talk about him in length, and so and actually have a debate about the Magic. So you guys got my respect from the beginning. So it's just it is cool to be able to be on the show with you guys. It's a huge honor, honestly.
Yeah, you guys aren't out here doing the Kendrick Perkins, just saying random stuff about stuff. You have no idea what you're talking about. And same thing, I'll kind of echo Luke's sentiments. I came across you guys on YouTube, and that's kind of where we started to communicate a little bit before I followed you on Twitter. And I think you guys were talking about maybe the Jamal Mosley hire or something like that. And I was like, all right, these guys, they've done their homework, and you guys, know what you're talking about. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, we try to know what we're talking about as much as possible. And the Orlando Magic in the 2018-2019 season, I was watching them heavily. That was the year that I think there was a stretch where they were the 10th, 11th seed, but they played really competitive basketball. That team was very deep. That was the year that DJ Augustine was great in game 1 against Toronto. And I told my friend, the Magic will make the playoffs. Watch out for the Magic. They'll make the playoffs. Evan Fournier was great that year, along with Vucevic. Terrence Ross off the bench was a flamethrower. And we'll get into this right now because I want to get your takes on it.
All right, perfect. Let's go.
Evan Fournier, he just got signed by my New York Knicks. I love this signing. I think Fournier fits our team. Floor spacer, can create his own shot at sometimes. But Riv, he doesn't like Fournier. He calls him a cone on defense. He says that with Boston, he averaged 13 points. He's not going to do much for the Knicks. So I'll start with you, Jonathan, because you like Fournier. Give me your analysis on Evan Fournier and who the Knicks are getting as a player.
All right, so this is what I'll say. Just first of all, in defense of Evan Fournier's time in Orlando, Evan is a very polarizing figure when you talk to Magic fans, especially on like Magic Twitter, the Orlando Magic subreddit. Evan Fournier, in his time in Orlando, for the most part, was miscast. He was always asked to carry far too much of an offensive load. You look at his time in Orlando, 16 points per game in 7 seasons, shot 45% from the floor, 37% from the three-point line. If he's going to be a guy, for the Knicks that he should be, when you have guys like Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, like in that offense, best case scenario, Evan Fournier should be like your third, fourth option offensively. If he's just asked sometimes to play make, be a, secondary, even like a third ball handler, knock down open three-pointers, that is the perfect role for Evan Fournier. In Orlando, he was asked a lot of the time to be the primary ball handler. Magic fans got so sick and tired of the high pick and roll with Evan Fournier and Nikola Vucevic in late game situations, and Evan either making mistakes or forcing up a bad shot or whatever the case may be at the time. And that's just not the guy that he is. That's not the type of guy that he should be on a good team. Now, you guys look back at the Celtics-Nets playoff series from earlier this year. Kevin Durant started talking trash to Evan Fournier, and Fournier went right at him like, yo, you don't talk to me like that. There were some unpleasantries exchanged between the two of those. So I think he fits like the New York Knicks, like the New York mentality, put him with Tibbs, with a lot of those other guys that we talked about. And I think you guys are going to be, pleasantly surprised with Evan Fournier. Now, $19 million a year, I'm not going to lie, that's steep. Like, that is steep. But I think in the right role, he can live up to that contract. And Luke is going to go the complete other way with this. So we can just...
Yeah, I mean, so the thing with Fournier, Jonathan opened my eyes to the truth that Evan Fournier was severely miscast in Orlando. Like he said, he was asked to do things that really made him the villain. Now, my thing is that Jonathan would say that, and I would say, yeah, but if he's getting paid what he's getting paid, and he's really the second option on this team most of the time down the stretch, he's maybe the number one option down the stretch. You have that role. You better be ready for the critiques. And I think that a lot of people that are Magic fans who, were Evan truthers would tell you, why are you hating on him? He's just miscast. But the honest truth is, if you're in that role, you're going to get hate from me because I don't care that you're all I've got. If you're making dumb plays down the stretch, I'm going to let everybody know about it. And there was that many times. Evan Fournier had a lot of game winners. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. He had a lot of game winners. And in one time, was it 2017 or 2018, Jonathan, that we found that, you had told me about it as well, that he had like one of the highest clutch ratings in the league that year. I mean, you can't call him not clutch, but it just really is not ideal for him. The amount of times where he did something stupid in crunch time and cost the Magic the game, but it is going to happen when you have so many times where you're the guy. Unfortunately, nobody else was there to do it for him. It wasn't going to be Aaron Gordon. Markel's been hurt. Like Jonathan Isaac's been hurt. He really, no one was helping him either in terms of being healthy and helping him. But yeah, I'm not a huge Fournier fan, but I do think in New York being the option that he's going to be there and not having to be the number 1 or 2, I think he's going to thrive. I mean, you saw it last year with Boston. Yes, he only averaged 13 points a game, but he also shot 46% from 3, which is absurd for almost 6 attempts a game. So if he can just be a guy that has to hit open shots, occasionally, create his own shot too, something the Knicks don't really have right now, and something that they really needed was a shot creator, just an additional one. I think that he'll be able to kind of thrive in New York.
So what you're telling me is, I'm not saying these two guys are the same player, but what you're telling me is they paid him $19 million.
Steep.
To be a little bit better than Reggie Bullock on offense and less Reggie Bullock on defense. That's what you're telling me.
I mean, yeah, they like we have said, like it's definitely steep for Evan Fournier. I don't agree with the contract. I agree with the fit. And I think that's the difference there. I think that fit-wise, he's going to be great. And maybe he ends up being worth that much just because of what he's able to bring to the team. But I agree. I mean, Reggie Bullock is, he had points last year. We had, stretches where he's hitting that 3 ball really well. And Knicks fans are going insane. And I will admit, Evan Fournier is not the most talented defender. So, Riv, hear me when I say I know he's being overpaid in New York, but it could end up being okay.
The last thing I'll say in defense of Evan Fournier is you're asking Reggie Bullock a lot of time to guard the other player's best perimeter player. You should never be asking Evan Fournier to guard the other team's best perimeter player.
You don't think Fournier is a good defender at all? Do you agree?
He is a very good team defender.
Okay,
that's fair.
But one-on-one, if you talk about guys that are really elite in the NBA, breaking you down off of the dribble, Evan Fournier would not be the first guy that I would choose in that scenario.
His knees are turning to dust if he's going on.
Riv called Fournier a cone. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I would not say a cone. Maybe a cone with legs. I don't know, but he's not going to be a Drew Holiday or anything like that. But no, he is a good, solid, team defender. He's, for the shooting guard position, he's got good size. Again, he's a fairly athletic guy. But no, he's not exactly Reggie Bullock defensively. But I don't think a cone is fair.
I don't think Reggie Bullock was that good defensively, to be honest. I saw him get broken down multiple times. Tom Thibodeau is a great coach. He brings out the best in his players. Julius Randle was not known for being a good defender. Now Randle is a great defender with Tom Thibodeau. A team defender, I think, is more important than an on-ball defender. Throughout the course of the game, I think in late possessions where there are ISOs, that matters more. But team defense, to me, that's what's important with Fournier. And Riv, I disagree with something you said. Oh, God. Reggie Bullock, even if he was asked to play a role like Fournier played in Orlando, he couldn't even live up to his shoes. Reggie Bullock at max is 14 a game. He can't give you nothing more. He can't do anything off the dribble. Fournier, 2019, averaged 18.5 points per game in Orlando.
You're gonna tell me? Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
He shot 40% from 3, 47% from the field. And before getting traded to Boston, he averaged close to 20 a game. Reggie Bullock could never do that. It's not a slight upgrade. It's a major upgrade.
No, but it's not a major upgrade because Fournier is going to go to New York and be asked to do what Reggie did slightly a little bit more. So it's not like he's going to put up that 19 that he put up with Orlando
and
or 18 or 17.
The contract, I understand, $19 million, it sounds steep. But when you look at what Joe Harris is getting paid in Brooklyn, $18.5 million, I think Fournier is a better player than Joe Harris. So I think that contract is fair for Fournier. I don't think that's too bad.
I think really where the Knicks will get the value out of Fournier is going to be in the playoffs when the game slows down. Like, you're not going to look at Evan Fournier's regular season stats and be like, okay, we paid this guy $19 million. But, the Knicks, if they're hoping to get past the second round next year, Evan Fournier is a guy that, and, Luke's going to bring up the fact that Evan Fournier has not been good in the playoffs in his career, and that's 100% a fact. But if he's able to turn that around in New York as a Knick, again, when the playoff game slows down and you guys need another ball handler, that's where you're going to get the value, Fournier versus Reggie Bullock, I think.
All it takes is one run, right? Kyle Lowry, before the championship run, was known as a playoff choker. Now he wins with Kawhi. Kyle Lowry, he's a leader you need on your team. Chris Middleton, before this season,
We don't like Kyle Lowry in these parts for a lot of reasons. But no, I get what you're saying.
And Chris Middleton, before this playoff run, he was viewed as a liability. And now we saw this postseason, he's now enamored. And everybody's like, Chris Middleton is the real deal. I'm not saying that's going to be Fournier, but I'm saying I could see Fournier having a series where he's lights out from three. He does really well from the field, and he's just doing what he does for the Knicks, especially when we face the Hawks in the playoffs next year and we get our revenge on them. That's for sure.
Do y'all remember? I know, like you said, Joel, you said it only takes one run. And I have a prime example, and it's a Magic example. Nikola Vucevic against Toronto. Against Toronto, nobody was a fan of Vucevic after that Toronto series. So much so that people were saying, trade him now. Just get him off the team. I don't even want to look at him anymore. Because against Toronto, he averaged 11 points and shot 36% from the field. But then, like you said, it just takes that one run out of a player and you win back the entire fan base and what people think of you. The next year against Milwaukee, Vucevic last year, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 40% from three on almost 9 attempts a game. So you win back the entire fan base in one run. I do agree with your sentiment, Joel, that it only takes one run for a player to win back the fans and win back the people like Riv, who might say, Fournier isn't all that, and he's just Bullock, but worse on defense.
No, I love to hear the Vucevic numbers. That just made me.
Well, too bad for you.
That's our guy.
Well, too bad for you. He'll be Vucevic versus Toronto for the Bulls more so than he'll be Vucevic versus the Bucks.
Wow.
No, I can't wait. Okay.
Now I got to step in here and disagree. All right. You can besmirch whoever you want. You do not talk bad about Nikola Vucevic.
You know what's
one of
crazy?
the top 5 Magic players of all time.
You know what's crazy is that
really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got Dwight, Shaq, Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, and then Nikola Vucevic. I mean, we can
Grant Hill?
Grant Hill
played
Grant
like
Grant
200
Ankles
games
Hill.
in 6 years.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean no. If we're not talking about like over the course of their careers, because we've had like Patrick Ewing played for the Magic.
Oh, yeah.
Dominique played for the Magic. We're talking about guys strictly in a Magic uniform.
Yeah.
I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but Vooch ranks top 10 many Magic stats. It's pretty.
You're
crazy.
kicking out Nick Anderson basically to put Vooch 5, and that's completely fine. With the run he had against Milwaukee, I don't care that Orlando lost that series. I don't care about any of that. For a dude to average to be, what he was, who came into the league not being able to shoot the 3 ball especially, and then shoot 8.8 threes a game and shoot 41% from 3, that dude's got my respect forever. And I didn't think I was going to ever forgive him from that Toronto series, and he made me pay for it the next year.
If I'm not mistaken, Vucevic was a part of that Iguodala trade or the Bynum trade?
The Dwight Howard trade.
The Dwight Howard trade. Okay.
Yep. Iguodala going to Denver. It was like a 4-team trade, I believe. But yeah, we ended up with Vooch, and nobody thought he was going to be anything. Turns into a 2-time All-Star. He's our best player. Both of the years we went to the playoffs in 2019 and 2020. So yeah, Vooch is a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah.
So on to this new look Orlando Magic team, because this is a different look team than it has been in the years past. The only guy that you can really name is Terrence Ross, that was a part of that playoff core. And I think that's pretty much it that I'm looking at here.
Well,
Isaac, but obviously he's been hurt.
MCW.
Yeah, Michael Carter-Williams as well. During the draft, there was a lot of speculation pre-draft about, where's the Magic go? We're talking about Kuminga at 5. Scotty Barnes wasn't a big fan favorite. It was more so Kuminga. Then at 8, let's go get a Buck night. On draft day, when you saw that Suggs was there at 5, did everybody want y'all to draft Jalen Suggs, or were there some fans that said, no, we want Kuminga still?
Well, I'll plug our little video. So we did like a draft day vlog that's up on our YouTube channel, and we were recording in the arena when the Scotty Barnes pick came through, because even they're talking on the ESPN broadcast, and they've got Woj sitting 5 feet away from them, and they're talking about how the pick is expected to be Jalen Suggs. And at that point, I'm not on my phone. I don't want to see all the spoilers and everything like that. But we're just thinking like, here go the Raptors. They're going to take Suggs, and we'll draft, Barnes or, Kuminga, whoever the front office really prefers. And then the Raptors take Scotty Barnes. So Luke and I were both in the building, Game 3, 2019, when the Magic played the Raptors, you know, the first playoff game in that building in, Luke, what was it, 7 years? And being there for the draft party when Scotty Barnes' name was announced, was that building was every bit as loud as that game 3 playoff game in 2019. Because at that moment, everybody knew that we were getting Suggs. There was a Suggs chant right after that Barnes pick. And we were just really terrified that the Magic weren't going to take Suggs and they were going to try to get cute with the pick. But no, the fan base is very, very, very excited.
So I wouldn't say I'm an Orlando hater, but I'm not an Orlando fan. I'm kind of just like in the middle of it all, just like, oh, Orlando's, it's a cool team, nice colors. They're in Orlando, Disney World, all that good stuff.
It's bad when you have to reach out for our colors.
Good colors.
I was a little confused. Run me through. What'd you think of the 8th pick with Wagner? Because I watched Michigan a lot. I'm kind of a college junkie. I watched Michigan throughout the year. Talk to me about that. Why'd you go Wagner at 8 instead of Buck Knight?
Luke, do you want to take it?
Yeah. So I think that the thing really is with the draft was the Magic were incredibly set on, we're gonna, with the 5th pick, we're gonna draft Kuminga, we're gonna draft Scotty Barnes, we're gonna get a forward essentially, right? So everybody then in turn was like, let's go ahead and prepare ourselves for that. And then the 8th pick will be like a Moses Moody, a guard that will be able to, help the franchise there. And so I think, you go with, the 5th pick obviously ends up being Suggs, and you're like, oh, but in the moment, you don't have time to process the fact that means you're not taking a guard with the 8th pick. It didn't seem like that. Why would you, right? So, I'm not a huge fan of the Wagner pick. It's still to be seen, obviously, if that was the right pick to make. And I don't really want to judge it, in a fair light until the season is, underway and we're at least halfway through and I could see kind of what we're dealing with. But I can't fault Orlando for taking a forward necessarily. I was hoping 8 was going to be Moses Moody in all transparency. I wasn't even looking at Book Knight. I saw the draft combine. I saw the videos of his stroke. It looked so much better than it did in college. It looked like his percentage is going to go, up from his 3-point percentage that it was in college and whatnot. But I just couldn't get, I wasn't really on board with him. I wanted Moody really badly. I wanted Moody. I was willing to stretch up to 5 for Moody if I had to, because the 8th and 5th pick, there's not many, guys between it. There's not much margin there. So if you really like a guy, pick him at 5. I think the Magic really could have benefited from a Moody at 5, but obviously when Suggs falls, that's what you had to do. As far as Wagner goes, man, it kind of stinks, but the Magic were in such a pigeonhole that you had to like pick a forward with it. And that's just kind of what happened. And apparently there was rumors that the Magic or some team had promised Wagner, if you're there, we're taking you. And we thought for sure that wasn't the case with the Magic.
I don't think nobody promised.
I think that was Sacramento.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that was Sacramento.
Wagner?
Well, if I can jump in here, I'm a little bit more optimistic on the Wagner pick than Luke is, but I'm right there. We've been thinking Barnes or Kuminga at 5 the whole time. We didn't think Suggs would be there. So you're thinking we get a forward at 5, then we'll take a guard at 8, whether that be Moody or Book Knight or whoever the case is.
Who would you have took?
What's that?
Who would have you took at 8? If you took Kuminga or whatever at 5, the wing, who would you take?
I think I was leaning towards Moody. Just with Book Knight, there were just concerns about, the shot making. Yes, he's, arguably going to be like a 3-level guy, but the percentages were a little bit worrisome, at UConn. But you look at Moses Moody. Moses Moody was one of the best shooters, in pick and roll situations, in NCAA last year. So we had basically our draft expert, Eric Fawcett, came on the podcast the week before the draft and just really sold Moses Moody on us. Like this is a kid that just lives, eats, breathes all the advanced analytics and just kind of the way that he projects as a ball handler again in pick and roll situations, his ability, to defend multiple positions. Obviously, is a great shooter. So I was looking at that as like a day one contributor. Book Knight is probably like the higher upside pick, but we were looking at Moses Moody as a guy that could come in and contribute from day one. But again, we're in the arena real time. Suggs is the pick. My mind is just completely blown. I can't really process any information at that point. So you see in our video, again, when the Wagner pick is made, we're all kind of like, oh, wow, like we're just, really shocked. But everything that the front office has said since then. The thing about the Orlando Magic front office is that we do not leak anything. Anytime you hear Orlando Magic in rumors, I can almost guarantee you it is almost always from another team, another executive, or from someone's agent trying to drive whatever narrative they're trying to drive home. We heard that the Magic worked out Corey Kispert, Moses Moody, Scotty Barnes. There was, post-workout media availability where we interviewed those guys. Mo Wagner did work out for the Magic. The Magic never actually leaked that. He confirmed that in an interview after the draft. And then Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report, he did not report, but speculate that there was a promise, from Wagner between Orlando and Sacramento. And he alluded to the fact that it wasn't Sacramento. So knowing what we know now, and then John Hammond, our general manager, was on the radio the day after the draft and said, Jalen Suggs kind of fell into our lap. We had no idea what Toronto was doing until they made that pick. But they said Franz Wagner was always going to be the pick at 8, no matter what, no matter who he took at 5, no matter who was there at 8, Franz Wagner was going to be the pick. So that tells me that, one, he absolutely destroyed the draft, workout that they had with him, that they kept private for whatever reason. And they promised him, that we'll take you at 8 if you're not there. And the reason that teams do that is so that you don't work out for teams that are slated below you, so that they can try to trade up and take a guy. So he really, really impressed the Magic. He's had a little bit of a shaky start to Summer League. He's starting to play a little bit better the last couple of games. But when you just look at kind of how tight the front office kept that secret, and they're willing to take him at 8 and say, we're going to take him no matter what, to me, that says a lot about whatever happened in that workout and, kind of their analysis of Franz Wagner.
And for me, I think that was absolutely right. The Magic were looking at forward, then guard. So you had to flip-flop those two scenarios. So now you're looking at guard and forward. When the pick happened, I was a bit confused because I was like, okay, Jalen Suggs is best available, but the Magic have a lot of guards. But then thinking about it again, I'm like, they have a lot of guards, but do they have the guard? RJ Hampton, is he the guard? Is Cole Anthony going to be the guy? I'm not sold on either. I think RJ Hampton has more potential, though. Markelle Fultz, is he going to be the guy? We want him to be that, but he has not proven that yet. Jalen Suggs can be that guy and can run the offense for years to come, which is why I think it was a great pick. As for the 8th pick, you look at the forwards on the board at the time. Zaire Williams, I think that would have been a reach. Chris Duarte, Moses Moody could have been the pick, but he's a shooting guard, and I love Moody, by the way. I think he has zero bust potential. I think Moody's going to be really good. Corey Kispert, Trey Murphy. A lot of those guys are too high for number 8. Maybe you could have went with Jalen Johnson and gotten an Aaron Gordon clone. But realistically, Franz Wagner was the most NBA-ready player at that spot. And I'm just going to say it. I don't think he has star potential at all. I think he's a role player, and that's what he is. And that's fine. I think he can be a serviceable player for years to come. He's a versatile defender. He can stretch the floor, but in terms of like a star, I don't really see it, but he's a winner. And I think Orlando in the draft, they landed 2 winners in Jalen Suggs and in Franz Wagner.
Yeah. And that's definitely the thing, right? Like you said, and like I'm going to say now as well, is like the 5th pick was the pick, right? No other team has that 2 top 10 picks like that to take those swings. Jalen Suggs quite literally falls into your lap. And then from there on out, I wish I could have told myself in the moment, everything after that is just the cherry on top, right? No matter what you do at that point, it's like we had 2 top 10 picks. We don't need a guy that's going to be we don't need to draft another guy who's got a high ceiling, more so get a guy who's more NBA ready now. You look at it with Wagner and with Suggs. Suggs was the right pick. That's the guy that, has both a high floor, I think, and a high ceiling. And you really just don't know what he's going to turn out to be because there's so many options that, so many results that could happen. With Wagner, man, I think that, you hope he's just serviceable and that's it. But like you said, I don't want to reach for Zaire in that situation. A lot of Magic fans were high on Zaire. I was saying, no, thank you. So I wasn't gonna see that happening at all. So Wagner is what he is and is what he's going to become. But a lot of people are hitting the panic button with the summer league already with him, and I don't think that's fair to him. But yeah, I like you, Joel. I wasn't super high on the Wagner pick at the time.
I'm under the assumption that when you get the 8th overall pick, and I'm gonna remove that cherry on top right now, you should trade the 8th overall pick no matter what you do. It's a cursed pick. And I actually have a video dropping soon about the history of that pick. The last All-Star that was picked at that spot was in 1983, I believe. No, 1993. And these are the last 8th overall picks. Last season, Obi Toppin. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm not too optimistic. Jackson Hayes. Colin Sexton. Okay, he's good. Frank Ntilikina. Marquise Chris. Stanley Johnson. Nick Stauskas, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, good role player. Terrence Ross, good role player. Brandon Knight had some moments. Al-Farouq Aminu. And then if you go even, far back, Jordan Hill, Joe Alexander, Brandon Knight, Channing Frye. I mean, these names are horrible. I actually did the percentages. And out of the last 10 years, there have been 7 busts in that 8th overall pick and 3 good players. The percentages for a team to draft an all-star within the lottery are at 25% over the last 30 years. At the 8th overall pick and the 12th overall pick, those are the 2 cursed picks. And ironically, the 8th overall pick was Franz Wagner and the 12th was Josh Primo. Both picks in the lottery that we were all questionable about. It's like a not even like a 10% chance. It's like a 2% chance.
Primo.
Yeah.
Well, I think, at 8, again, you're not really looking for the all-star at that point, and again, is Markelle Fultz the guy, is RJ Hampton, Cole Anthony, all of these different guards that we have, are either of them going to be an all-star? We don't really know. But if you take another guard at 8, like a Book Knight or a Moody, you're not giving those guys enough room to breathe to really find out, at least in my opinion. So Franz, I mean, like I said, he's had a little bit of a shaky start, to the summer league. He's touted as a very versatile defender. He struggled a little bit so far in that aspect. We were talking about this last night on the podcast that we recorded, that right now it seems like he's not quite quick enough to keep up with some of the smaller threes, but he's not really strong enough to, keep up with the 4s either. So, but this is what I'll say about the Orlando Magic front office. You look at Jeff Weltman and John Hammond, since they took over, Luke, what was that? The 2016 draft with Jonathan Isaac, they've hit on pretty much every single pick outside of Mo Bamba. And Mo Bamba, we can get into that argument, but he's faced a lot of adversity. He had a stress fracture in his leg his rookie year. And then last year dealing with COVID, there are a lot of reports that him and Steve Clifford, our old head coach, didn't really see eye to eye. Playing behind an all-star Nikola Vucevic and one of the best backup centers in the league in Kem Birch. So outside of Mo Bamba, you look at Chuma Okeke, who the Magic took at 16 a couple of years ago, coming off an ACL tear. Right now, that pick looks like it's going to be a steal. If he was healthy coming off of that, the Final Four, for Auburn, he's probably a lottery pick that year. Last year, Cole Anthony at 15, still kind of up in the air on, whether or not that's going to turn out to be a great pick, but it's looking like a really good pick. And then they've been pretty shrewd with, all of their trade moves, trading for Markelle Fultz basically for nothing. You have Nikola Vucevic, who, like Luke said, a couple of years ago after that Toronto series, people were really to let him leave in free agency. He was a free agent that summer. They re-signed him, to a 5-year or 4-year, $100 million deal, something like that. And then you end up trading him for a serviceable center in Wendell Carter Jr. Is he, a starter in the league? I'm not really sold on that yet, but you end up getting 2 first-round picks in that deal as well. So we kind of lean towards trusting the front office, and I don't want to, judge a guy off of, 3 summer league games now, but it's just kind of wait and see with Franz.
Serviceable. Wendell.
Hey, listen.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you.
It's early. It's early.
It's early.
I totally. Well, in terms of his Magic career, I think we would both agree that he definitely needed a change of scenery. After he was traded to the Magic.
That's all he needed to do. Just stay healthy. If you stay healthy,
yeah.
Then listen. listen, I'm glad you brought up
Yes,
Wendell
please.
Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba, because this gets into my question about Wagner. You know, Jonathan Isaac coming off injury. I always forget what his injury is because he has like
ACL.
ACL injury. You know, coming off injury. Before the injury, he was one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Can play off ball, on ball, can rim protect. He's just amazing. Okeke coming into his own. He's really good. And you got Mo Bamba, who, like you said, he hasn't shown much, but he's still really young. You know, so he still has the opportunity with a new head coach to show something different. Wendell Carter Jr., new environment, new surroundings, new coach. Where do you see this front court fitting with now Wagner? Like, where do you see this front court looking like with this new season coming up?
You want to take a look?
Yeah, I mean, with the season coming up, as far as where he can fit, I mean, you have to put him. Obviously, you're putting him power forward, right? You're putting him at the power forward spot, and you're putting him behind Ji. You're putting him behind Jonathan Isaac and Chuma in that situation, right? So I think he'll fit, but I mean, like Joel said, I don't think either that Wagner's going to be an all-star by any means. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to make everybody's job easier on the court. He's going to do the little things. He's a winner, like you said, which usually means that they've got a lot of grit, that they're, going to hustle. They're going to make those, game-winning plays for you. So I think that he'll also be able to kind of learn. You're behind a guy like Ji and a guy like Chuma, who is progressing nicely. I mean, especially defensively. And so Wagner's just going to come in and just kind of fit where he needs to. And I'm not really concerned about, how he's going to fit into the rotation, because to be honest with y'all, the Magic have 14 guys right now who all have a case for playing minutes. I mean, you've got a deep roster right now that that's another thing. I would love to answer the rotation and the rotation question correctly and the best I can, but I have no idea. With the new coach coming in, we don't know how he views these guys. Jonathan and I joke, if Steve Clifford was still there, Michael Carter-Williams might be starting a point guard or shooting guard this year.
100%.
So, but that's not even going to happen. I'm hoping not. That's not even going to even have a chance of happening now that Jamal Mosley's in the building and we don't have Cliff's bias towards MCW. So yeah, I'm not real concerned about where Franz fits in the roster. Not any more than I am anybody else, because I really don't know who is going to fit there. And real quick, Jonathan, before I, defer to you here too, the Magic have, the roster so far, you got Gary Harris, who people seem to forget about because the Magic made a trade for him. And he, struggled to stay healthy and whatnot. But Gary Harris, Markelle Fultz, Ji, Mo Bamba, WCJ, Cole, Chuma, MCW, RJ Hampton, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, Robin Lopez now. Like, you've got a ton of dudes who it's just kind of like, we're not playing 13 deep, so what's going to be the move here? But Jonathan, kind of, what do you think about as far as Wagner and his fit with the rotation?
Yeah, I think a lot of us expect, Chuma and Jonathan Isaac to start at the 3 and the 4 respectively. Mo Wagner, I think a lot of us, probably agree he's either going to be, the backup 3 or the backup 4. We're rumored to re-sign his older brother, Mo Wagner. It hasn't become official yet. He played a lot of, center, for the Magic, really just out of necessity. You talk about Wendell Carter's health, but Wendell Carter was out with like some type of like corneal abrasion or something like that.
Yep.
So Mo Wagner was like our starting center for like, the last 10 games of the season or something like that. But yeah, it's really up in the air. Right now, I think one of the most intriguing things going into training camp is going to be Wendell Carter versus Mo Bamba. The Action Network, there was a report like a week ago that the Magic were going to sign Wendell Carter Jr. to a $70 million extension. And Magic fans collectively went, what? Why? It's way too early to sign him to that kind of deal, especially when, a lot of us aren't ready to give up on Mo Bamba. Mo has definitely struggled. He's been given, I think, plenty of opportunity to show that he can play in this league. Has he proven it yet? I don't really know. But I think that's a guy who needed a change of scenery, really just in terms of a new head coach. And we got that. But by all accounts, he's been working his butt off this season. He flew out to Las Vegas to practice with the Summer League team, even though he wasn't going to be playing Summer League, just to get run and just to, start growing continuity with the new guys and the rookies and everything like that. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba. They'll, if they're not signed to extensions, they'll most likely be restricted free agents next summer. And I mean, at that point, you probably have to pick one and kind of move forward.
I, for one, am hoping that Mo Bamba wins that matchup.
Me too.
Sadly for him, his career and Shaq West's career both fell off after the Mo Bamba release. At first, the hype was crazy. Then Shaq West fell off as an artist. Mo Bamba fell off as a player. He couldn't quite keep up that hype. But to me, I think Mo Bamba, he's the guy the Magic should be trying to groom to be the starting center for the future. I believe so as well.
Definitely more fit for the NBA now with like a front court of Isaac, Kiki, and Mo Bamba. That would be like ridiculous defensively, but it's just if Mo
Talk
Bamba,
to me, Riv.
Like, I'm serious. Like the length. Like I don't even want. Just hopefully Mo Bamba wins.
Can shoot too. He can stretch the floor.
I just hope Mo Bamba wins. But before I defer to my friend right here, just one more question about my boy J.I. I really like him. What do you guys think? With dealing with these back-to-back season-ending injuries, is his ultimate ceiling at this point in his career?
This is the thing about Jonathan Isaac, and we've had him on the show a couple of times, so I do my best, not to be biased, but we just really like the kid as a person, first of all, and just the will that kid has is something that I would not doubt. I think he's got all the physical tools to do everything that he needs to do in this league to be a really great player. If he can come back and healthy, if he's 100%, then he's a defensive player of the year candidate. If he comes back, even if he's 75, 80% of the defender he was, he's still an all NBA defender. Like, the kid is just that good. We saw a couple flashes when he came back in the bubble just right before the ACL tear, where like everything was happening. Like he was, Euro step layups, getting to the rim whenever he wanted, knocking down corner threes, pull up elbow jumpers, had all the offense going. He's had a whole year now where basically the only thing he's been able to do is shoot jumpers, rehabbing the ACL. In one of our first summer league games, Jeff Weltman was interviewed during the game and was, just talking about Jonathan Isaac and his rehab, and he went out of his way. And Jeff Weltman is a very, very secretive guy when it comes to players' rehabs and how players are doing. He doesn't like to put expectations on guys, but he went out of his way to say Jonathan's jumper looks very good. For Jeff Weltman to say that, that was kind of a big deal to Magic fans. So I think if Jonathan can come back, and I think his ceiling is like a perennial all-star, but it's all going to rely on his offensive ability. We know the defensive ability is going to be there, but if he can become like a 19, 20 point per game scorer, I think the kid's an all-star, and it's not even a question.
Yeah, I mean, that just to piggyback off what Jonathan said, it's absolutely, his defense is there. We know that. We've known that. You can find, Jonathan Isaac's defensive clips, his highlights are stupid for the lack of play he's had so far in his career due to injury. If he stays healthy, man, which two injuries that have nothing to do with each other, by the way. I think that they're both freak accidents. That's what we're hoping for, and we hope that he stays healthy because we want to see what he can become. We don't need, a Grant Hill situation. A lot of Magic fans will say that. Is J.I. on the track to becoming like another Grant Hill where he's just a big what if with the organization? We hope not. And I know J.I. definitely hopes not. But, I mean, you look at, J.I.'s numbers defensively, man, like 1.6 steals a game, 2.3 blocks a game in 28 minutes in his third year is what that was, like the 2019-20 year where he played like 30 games or something like that. So, yeah, definitely could be a decoy. I don't think that that's a Magic bias by any means. He's got all the tools to be a decoy. He just needs to put together offensively, which he looked like he was, like Jonathan was saying, prior to his ACL injury in the bubble.
And to recap this show, I want to know your guys' thoughts on how great Jalen Suggs has been so far in the summer league. we was talking about it on the show today, and it was that, Jalen Suggs, to me, he might have been held back at Gonzaga because what he's doing in Orlando, the put-back dunks, getting to the rim, getting to his spot, shooting. And Gonzaga, there was so many players he wasn't allowed to do that. If he would have went to another program, he would have been a top 3, maybe top 2 lock, averaging 25 and 5. He was that good because right now in Summer League, he's dominating.
Luke, or yours, my friend.
Yeah. So I might be stealing something Jonathan was going to say, but we said it on the show last night. Jonathan said it on the show last night, and I think it's very true. Jalen Suggs, the Magic fans for years have wanted to know that in crunch time, if we need a bucket, there's a great chance we're going to get a bucket. Jalen Suggs is going to get you a bucket. And I'm someone who also was just kind of weary of on Jalen Suggs as a player. I wasn't really convinced. We talk about 2-3 summer leagues not being enough evidence, but I don't know, man. I mean, he's leading the team. He's got Cole Anthony on the roster right now. He's got RJ Hampton, guys that already have a year experience, and he looks better than them. It's and those guys aren't any slouches either. That's not a slight at them. That's just praise to Jalen Suggs. He has looked so good throughout these games, man. Getting a bucket at will is what it seems like. Shooting, at least going into tonight, shooting 6 for 12 from 3, shooting 50%, which is great. Obviously not a huge sample size, but for a guy that shot 33% from 3 at Gonzaga, and that was my biggest concern with him was shooting. He's wiped all my worry away when it comes to his 3-point shooting. He's confident. He's got the tools. He's a winner, and he's a leader. So I think I'm now completely sold on Jalen Suggs and look forward to kind of what he becomes.
Hey, 2 games and you're sold?
I'm sold. Dude, I mean, you look at those games, man, like you just have to watch them. There's players that Cole Anthony and RJ Hampton are deferring to Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
He's playing summer league. He hasn't even stepped on a real NBA court yet. And he's already making these strides. And I was on record 2 months ago saying I take Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs. That's how low I was on Jalen Suggs. Now I am glad that Scotty Barnes went 4th because it made me look smarter. At the time, Scotty was like mocked at like 7 or 8. So yeah, I think that I am. There's no lack of better term there. I'm sold on Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I think when you look at Gonzaga, like you guys mentioned, he's behind, Drew Timma 19 points per game, Corey Kispert 18.6 points per game. Jalen sitting there at 14 points a game, shot 50% from the floor at Gonzaga, just 33% from the 3-point line, but he didn't have to be the scorer for Gonzaga. He just had to defend at a high level. He had to facilitate, which he did there. We've seen a lot of the highlight passes, everybody knows. But when it was time for a bucket, game in, game out for Gonzaga, those close games, they went to Jalen Suggs over and over and over again. And it looks like that's what the Magic are going to do. We're trying to stay even keeled, with the summer league. But what I'm about to say is going to sound outlandish. So I'm going to say the name Tracy McGrady. I'm not trying to compare Jalen Suggs to Tracy McGrady. That is by far and away my favorite basketball player of all time. But it's basically been since Tracy McGrady that we've had a guy on the perimeter that you say, hey, I just need you to go and get a bucket, and there's not a doubt in your mind. Magic fans are going to say, oh, what about Hedo Turkoglu? Hedo Turkoglu, it was, what are you doing? No, yes. And then you freak out when he made the play. But Tracy McGrady, you just had no doubts. Every single time he touched the ball, he's going to go and get a bucket. Jalen Suggs, part of my concern was I didn't see a ton of, over the rim, above the rim play as I turn red here. I'm trying to fix my my autofocus on the camera.
I thought I was
just totally messed up my camera by raising my arms here, and now I'm trying to fix it. But anyways, that's how excited I get about Jalen Suggs, I guess. But no, we've seen the ability for him to play above the rim. Defensively, he just made play after play after play already. There was an instance with like 30 seconds to go in the first game against the Warriors. Cole Anthony turns the ball over. I think it was Kyle Guy and Moses Moody 2-on-1 going the other way. That's almost always a bucket. Jalen Suggs made the play on both of those guys, guarded Kyle Guy, I think it was, turned around and got the block, retained the ball, and then had a chance to go the other way and score a bucket to win the game. But then, made the plays in overtime, that we needed for, us to win the game. But no, we're really excited about Jalen Suggs. He's a rookie. I don't want to get too crazy right now. But there's a feeling around the team right now with Jalen that he just has it, and that's not something that you can always point to as something that's tangible. But right now it's just a feeling. We feel really good right now about Jalen Suggs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of young talent that has a lot of potential on his Magic roster next season. And hopefully they do well. Riv and I, we don't have too much high expectations for Orlando. We made a video about them in San Antonio possibly being the 2 worst teams in the NBA. But who knows? They can prove us wrong. They can get out to a hot start. And we just want to thank you guys for being on the show. It was truly a pleasure. And congrats on your success in signing with Blue Wire. That's awesome. That's amazing. And yeah, man, it was awesome having you guys on the show.
Well, first of all, we're super, super grateful. And what I can say to you guys is, we've been doing this 2.5 years now. Obviously it's all thanks to our listeners and people that check out the show, but you guys are on the right track. I'm sure you won't be too far behind us.
Yeah. So if you guys want to plug in your show, you guys can in this moment in time.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can find us, on Instagram, Twitter at 6 Man Show. You can find us, on Facebook as well. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/The 6 Man Show. We do shows every Monday. We're starting a new show on Thursday that we call Shoot the Shot, where we're going to talk more, NBA stuff and rumors and just kind of whatever else we want, food, video games, music, movies, you name it. But no, I think I speak for Luke. We're just really appreciative that you guys had us on. It was a lot of fun, right, Luke?
Yeah, and one thing I did want to say, if you guys start talking reckless about the Magic this year, I'm about to pay the $15 Patreon and give my take on the show. So you guys watch your mouth, and I'm gonna pay the $15. I'm not above it. I'll do it.
We know how vicious Magic fans get. They were on Riv for talking about Cole Anthony not being the great shooter.
Riv wasn't wrong.
that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
We want to thank you guys again, and Luke, Jonathan. Just let you guys know I remembered your names. It was just that one slip up in the beginning.
We left an impression. That's all we can ask. Appreciate that, man.
So thank you guys for being on the show once again. It was truly a pleasure, and wish you guys best of luck in the future.
Thank you.